The collision. Luna Rivera clutched her clipboard against her chest as she hurried through the pristine gardens of Silverstone Vineyard. Her emerald dress, borrowed from her roommate and slightly too long, swished around her ankles as she navigated between perfectly arranged white chairs. The afternoon sun cast golden shadows across the venue, creating the romantic atmosphere every bride dreamed of. Everything looked flawless from the outside, but Luna knew better. This was her first major wedding contract, and it was falling apart faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. The florist had delivered pink peonies instead of white roses. The string quartet was stuck in traffic on Highway 29, and somehow the wedding cake had arrived with "Congratulations, Mark and Jennifer," instead of "Matthew and Jessica." Luna had exactly 47 minutes to fix 3 disasters before 200 guests witnessed what could be the end of her event planning career. She pressed her phone to her ear, speaking in hushed but urgent tones to her backup florist. "Please tell me you have white roses. Any white roses. Don't care if they're from your grandmother's garden." Luna wasn't watching where she was going. Her attention was split between the phone call and mentally calculating how long it would take to remove Mark and Jennifer from buttercream frosting. She rounded the corner of the vineyard's main building at full speed, her heels clicking against the stone pathway. That's when physics decided to teach her a lesson about momentum. The collision was spectacular in the worst possible way. Luna slammed into what felt like a wall of expensive fabric and masculine cologne. Her clipboard went flying, papers scattering like confused butterflies. Her phone sailed through the air in a perfect arc. The champagne glass she'd been carrying for the pre-ceremony toast painted a golden stream across the front of the most beautiful suit she'd ever seen. Strong hands caught her before she could complete her graceful descent to the ground. For a moment, Luna found herself suspended in time, her face inches from a jawline that could have been carved from marble. The scent of bergamot and sandalwood filled her senses, making her momentarily forget her own name. "Well," a deep voice said, rich with amusement, "this is certainly one way to make an introduction." Luna blinked, trying to focus on the face. Attached to that voice, dark hair that looked like it had been styled by someone who charged more per hour than she made in a week. Gray eyes, the color of storm clouds, sharp and intelligent, studying her with obvious curiosity, and a mouth that was currently curved in what might have been a smile, though she couldn't be sure if it was friendly or predatory. "Oh no," Luna breathed, finally registering the champagne stain spreading across his pristine white shirt. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." The man straightened carefully before stepping back. His movements were controlled, deliberate, like someone accustomed to being in charge of every situation. "I take it this wasn't part of the wedding festivities?" he said, brushing at the champagne stain with the kind of calm that suggested this wasn't his first ruined shirt. The recognition. Luna's face burned with embarrassment as she bent to gather her scattered papers. "I am so sorry. I was on the phone, and I wasn't watching where I was going. You were just standing there, and I breathed," the stranger interrupted, crouching down to help collect her notes. "It's just a shirt. Just a shirt." Luna's voice pitched higher. "That's not just a shirt. That's a shirt that probably costs more than my car payment. Maybe my rent, too." He handed her a stack of papers, and Luna noticed his hands wear strong, with long fingers and no wedding ring. There was something about the way he moved that suggested power, the kind that came with authority and money. "You seem to know a lot about expensive shirts," he observed, standing and offering her his hand. Luna hesitated before accepting his. "Help up." His grip was firm, warm, and sent an unexpected jolt through her system. "I work in events. I've seen enough designer disasters to recognize quality when I'm destroying it." "Events," he said, and Luna caught something shift in his expression. "You're the event coordinator." The way he said it made Luna pause. Not an event coordinator, but the event coordinator, like he'd been expecting her. Which was impossible because she'd never seen this man before in her life. She would have remembered someone who looked like he'd stepped off the cover of a business magazine. "Luna Rivera," she said, extending her hand professionally despite the circumstances. "Rivera Events and Planning." "Damian Cross," he replied. Luna felt her stomach drop to somewhere around her borrowed heels. Recognition hit her like a second collision. She knew that name. Everyone in California's event planning industry knew that name. Damian Cross, The tech mogul who'd built his company from nothing into a billion-dollar empire before he turned 30. The man who bought entire hotel chains as investment properties. The guest whose presence at an event could make or break careers, and she'd just doused him in champagne. "Mr. Cross," Luna managed, her professional smile wobbling at the edges. "I'm terribly sorry about your shirt. Please send me the cleaning bill or replacement cost or whatever you need." "It's handled," he said dismissively, but his eyes never left her face. "Though I have to ask, is this how you usually greet your clients' guests?" Luna's cheeks burned hotter. "Only the ones unfortunate enough to be standing in my path when I'm having a crisis?" "Crisis?" Damian raised an eyebrow, and Luna noticed it was perfectly shaped. Of course it was. Before Luna could stop herself, the words came tumbling out. The florist sent pink peonies instead of white roses. The string quartet is stuck in traffic, and the wedding cake has the wrong names on it. I have 40 minutes to fix everything before Jessica becomes Mrs. Martinez, and I'm pretty sure I'm about to have a panic attack. Damian listened to her rapid-fire explanation without interruption, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he tilted his head slightly, studying her like she was a fascinating puzzle. 40 minutes, he repeated thoughtfully. 38 now, Luna corrected, glancing at her watch. "And you think you can fix all of that?" Luna squared her shoulders, lifting her chin with more confidence than she felt. "Mr. Cross, I've been planning events since I was 12 years old, organizing my little sister's birthday parties. I once pulled together a corporate retreat for 200 people in 6 hours, when the original planner got food poisoning. Problems in 38 minutes is ambitious, but not impossible." Something flickered in Damian's eyes. Approval, maybe, or interest. "Impressive credentials," he said. "Thank you," Luna said, then remembered she was supposed to be apologizing, not boasting. "But right now I really need to go fix a cake." She started to turn away, but Damian's voice stopped her. Luna, the way he said her name made her skin tingle. She looked back, surprised by the intensity in his gaze. "Good luck." It sounded less like a pleasantry and more like a challenge. The recovery, the next 38 minutes, passed in a blur of frantic phone calls and creative problem-solving. Luna talked the vineyard's kitchen staff into helping her scrape names off buttercream frosting. She convinced a local grocery store to deliver every white flower they had in stock. She personally drove to the musicians' union, all to pick up a backup violinist when the original quartet remained stuck in traffic. By the time Jessica's music began, and the bride started her walk down the aisle, Luna had managed to pull off something resembling the wedding of Jessica's dreams. The flowers weren't perfect, but they were white and beautiful. The music was a trio instead of a quartet, but they played with enough passion to make up for the missing member. And the cake simply read "Forever Begins Today" in elegant script. Where the wrong names had been. Luna stood at the back of the ceremony, watching Jessica's face light up as she saw her groom waiting at the altar. This was why she loved her job, despite the stress and the impossible deadlines and the champagne-stained billionaires. She got to be part of the moments when everything came together perfectly, when love conquered chaos and details. Quite a transformation. Luna jumped, turning to find Damian Cross standing beside her. He'd changed into a fresh shirt, she noticed, though she tried not to think about what that implied about his resources or preparedness. "Thank you," she whispered, not wanting to disturb the ceremony. "I wasn't sure I could pull it off." Damian said quietly, and something in his tone made Luna look at him more carefully. He was watching the ceremony, but she had the distinct impression his attention was focused on her. It was unsettling and flattering and confusing all at once. "Why?" she asked. Damian glanced at her, his smile small but genuine. "Because anyone who can coordinate a disaster recovery while covered in champagne and still look that determined is someone who doesn't give up easily." Luna felt heat rise in her cheeks again, but this time it wasn't entirely from embarrassment. "You don't know me well enough to make that assessment." "Maybe not," Damian agreed, his voice low enough that she had to lean closer to hear him. "I'd like to." Before Luna could process that statement or formulate a response, the officiant was pronouncing Jessica and Matthew husband and wife. The guests erupted in applause, and the moment was lost in the celebration. But as Luna watched Damian Cross smile and clap for the happy couple, she couldn't shake the feeling that her collision with him had been more than just an accident. It felt like the beginning of something she wasn't sure she was prepared for. Something that might be even more challenging than planning a perfect wedding. The wedding reception was in full swing when Luna finally allowed herself to breathe. Crystal glasses clinked with celebratory toasts, couples swayed on the dance floor, and the golden hour light painted everything in romantic hues. She stood near the catering station, mentally checking off her final tasks, while keeping one eye on the cake table and another on the gift registry. You clean up well for someone who survived a champagne explosion. Luna turned to find Damian Cross approaching with 2 glasses of wine. He'd traded his stained shirt for a fresh one that somehow looked even more expensive than the first. Dark hair was slightly tousled now, as if he'd run his fingers through it. And Luna found herself wondering what it would feel like to do the same. "Thank you," she said, accepting the wine gratefully. "Though I'm not sure survived is the right word. I think I'm still running on adrenaline and caffeine." "Effective combination," Damian observed, moving to stand beside her. From this vantage point, they could see the entire reception. "Tell me, do you always throw yourself into your work with such intensity?" Luna took a sip of wine, noting that it was probably worth more than her weekly grocery budget. "When your reputation depends on making other people's dreams come true, intensity isn't optional." "The revelation reputation," Damian repeated thoughtfully. "How long have you been building yours?" 3 years officially," Luna said, watching Jessica laugh as her new husband spun her around the dance floor. "Though I've been planning events since I was a kid. My parents owned a small restaurant, and I used to help coordinate their private parties." She didn't mention that the restaurant had closed when she was 16 or that her parents had lost everything in the process. Or some stories weren't meant for champagne-stained first meetings with billionaires. "Family business," Damian said, and something in his tone suggested he understood more than she'd told him. "Those can be complicated." Before Luna could ask what he meant, Jessica's voice rang out across the reception. "Everyone, I need to steal Luna for just a moment." Luna smiled apologetically at Damian and made her way to where the bride was, practically glowing with happiness. Jessica grabbed her hands, squeezing them tightly. "Luna, you were absolutely incredible," Jessica gushed. "I don't know how you fixed everything, but this day has been perfect. It's better than perfect." "I'm just glad we pulled it off," Luna said, genuinely pleased by Jessica's joy. Jessica raised an eyebrow. "Honey, this was all you." "And speaking of pulling things off, I need to introduce you to someone very important." Jessica turned, scanning the crowd until her gaze landed on Damian Cross. She waved him over with enthusiasm that made Luna's stomach flutter with apprehension. "Damian, come meet the miracle worker I was telling you about." Luna felt the blood drain from her face as understanding dawned. "You two know each other?" "Know each other?" Jessica laughed. "Damian is Matthew's business partner. He's also the one who recommended this venue." She paused, grinning mischievously. "And he might have mentioned he was interested in investing in event planning businesses." Damian reached them, his expression carefully neutral, but Luna caught something that might have been amusement in his eyes. "Jessica, I see you're playing matchmaker again," he said smoothly. "I'm not matchmaking," Jessica protested. "I'm business facilitating." "Luna, Damian has been looking for event coordination companies to partner with for his corporate retreats and product launches. And after today's performance, I think you two need to talk." Luna stared at Damian. Pieces of a puzzle she hadn't known existed clicking into place. "You knew who I was when we crashed into each other." "I knew Rivera Events was handling the wedding," Damian admitted. "Hey. I didn't know you were Luna Rivera. But you figured it out pretty quickly when I introduced myself." "Yes." Jessica looked between them, clearly sensing undercurrents she didn't understand. "Wait, you two have already met?" "We had a collision," Luna said dryly. "I was wearing the evidence until 20 minutes ago," Damian added. Jessica's eyes lit up with delight. "This is perfect. Fate brought you together." Luna wasn't sure if fate was the right word for whatever was happening. She was beginning to suspect that her encounter with Damian Cross had been less accidental than she'd thought. "Jessica," Matthew called from across the reception, "your grandmother wants pictures with the cake before we cut it." duty calls, Jessica said, squeezing Luna's arm. But you two definitely need to talk business. Luna, Damian could change everything for your company. She hurried away, leaving Luna alone with Damian, and a growing sense that she was in deeper waters than she'd realized. So she said, turning to face him fully, "How long have you been planning this? Planning what?" Damian's expression was innocent, but Luna wasn't buying it. The coincidental meeting, the investment opportunity, the convenient recommendation of this venue. Damian was quiet for a moment, swirling his wine thoughtfully. When he spoke, his voice was more serious than she'd heard it all day. "I've been watching Rivera events for 6 months," he said. "Your work is exceptional, Luna. You handle logistics like a general commanding an army, but you never lose sight of the emotional core of what you're doing. That combination is rare in this industry." Luna felt a flush of pride mixed with wariness. "Thank you, but that doesn't answer my question. I recommended this venue because I thought it would showcase your abilities," Damian continued. "I didn't plan to literally run into you, but I'm not sorry it happened." "Why?" Luna asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. Damian stepped closer, and Luna caught that scent of bergamot and sandalwood again. "I guess I've been looking for someone who understands that the best business partnerships are built on passion as much as profit, because I've never met anyone who could coordinate a disaster recovery while arguing with me about shirt prices." The beginning Luna laughed, despite herself. "You have very specific criteria for business partners." "I have specific criteria for everything," Damian said, his gaze intense. "It served me well. And what exactly are you proposing?" "Partnership," Damian said simply. Cross Industries hosts dozens of corporate events each year, product launches, investor meetings, charity galas. We've been working with a firm in San Francisco, but they lack the personal touch that makes events memorable. Luna studied his face, searching for any sign of insincerity. "And you think I can provide that personal touch?" "I think you can provide something much more valuable," Damian said. "Authenticity. When you talk about making people's dreams come true, you mean it. That's not something you can fake or buy." The music swelled around them as Jessica and Matthew took their first dance as husband and wife. Luna watched them, thinking about dreams and partnerships and the strange way life could change in a single moment. What would this partnership look like, she asked? Exclusive contract for all Cross Industries events? Guaranteed monthly retainer, plus prevent fees. Full creative control on your end. Unlimited budget for execution. Damian paused, his expression growing more serious. And complete transparency. No more coincidental meetings or strategic recommendations. It's just honest business between two people who respect each other's work. Luna turned to face him fully, studying the man who'd literally crashed into her life. "You could have approached me through normal channels. Why all the elaborate setup?" "'Cause I needed to see how you handled pressure," Damian said. "Anyone can plan an event when everything goes according to schedule. But when disasters strike, when everything falls apart, that's when you discover what someone is really made of." "And what did you discover?" Damian's smile was genuine, reaching. His eyes for the first time all evening. That Luna Rivera doesn't break under pressure. She finds solutions. She makes miracles happen with 40 minutes and a borrowed dress. Luna felt something shift inside her chest, a flutter of possibility that had nothing to do with business, contracts, and everything to do with the way Damian was looking at her. "There's one condition," she said. "Name it. Next time you want to test my abilities, just ask. I promise I'm much more impressive when I'm not covered in champagne." Damian laughed, the sound rich and warm. "Deal. Though I have to say you were pretty impressive covered in champagne too." As the evening wore on, Luna found herself drawn into conversations with Damian that had nothing to do with business. He told her about starting his company in a garage, about the failures that had taught him more than any success, about learning to create magic from chaos, about the wedding disasters that had become her favorite memories. When the last guest had departed and the cleanup crew was packing away the final centerpieces, Luna stood in the vineyard's garden, looking out at the stars. The borrowed dress was wrinkled now, Her feet ached from the heels, and she was exhausted. In the way that came from a job well done. "Penny for your thoughts?" Damian said, joining her under the starlight. "Just thinking about how strange life is," Luna said. "This morning I was panicking about pink peonies and wrong names on a cake. Now I'm potentially about to change everything about my business. Having second thoughts?" Luna considered the question, thinking about the risk and the opportunity. And the man standing beside her? "No," she said finally. "I'm having first thoughts about a lot of things I hadn't considered before, such as..." Luna turned to look at him, this billionaire who'd somehow seen something in her work worth pursuing, who'd orchestrated an elaborate test and then stood by her side as she passed it, such as the possibility that the best opportunities come from the most unexpected collisions. Damian stepped closer, his voice soft in the quiet night. "Luna Rivera, I think this is the beginning of a very interesting partnership." "Just partnership?" Luna asked, surprised by her own boldness. "Well," Damian said, his eyes twinkling with mischief, "I suppose we'll have to see what other disasters we can create together." Luna laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. "Mr. Cross, I think you might have finally met your match." "I'm counting on it," he said. As they walked back toward the vineyard's main building, Luna reflected on the day's events. She'd started the morning terrified of failure and ended the evening with possibilities she'd never imagined. Sometimes the best things in life, really, did come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes a collision was exactly what you needed to change direction. And sometimes, just sometimes, champagne stains could lead to something beautiful. Deal like this video if the story touched your heart. Subscribe for more emotional tales and share with someone who believes in the power of true love. And let us know in the comments. We love connecting with our global community of romance lovers.